Hi everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters. Today we are going to be taking a look at the ins and outs of working with Tamiya's new LP series of paints. Now, from what we understand, they're going to finally be available in the United States fairly soon. And with that, I obviously have used them on quite a few models lately, and I've gotten lots and lots of questions about the paint. So today's video is going to be a easy how to use these LP series. I've been practicing with them for quite a while now, and I've developed a technique for thinning them that, for me at least, has worked every single time, both the glosses as well as the flats. We'll also talk about applying the actual paint onto plastic and a little bit about cleaning up your airbrush, because they are a little bit more let's call them stronger paints than like the acrylics. The acrylics are a little bit easier to clean out of the brush because they usually can clean out while they're wet with water, and then some of the other cleaning products will work on them as well. The lacquer does require at least lacquer thinner to take them out, and better yet, use Tamiya's airbrush cleaner. Really cleans out your airbrush very well. I really think this video will help out anyone that is just starting out with the LP series of paints. So let's get started. Probably the most important part of starting out with any type of paint, in my opinion, is getting the thinning ratio down on that paint. And once you get the thinning ratio down, it makes just using that product so much more relaxing and comfortable, because once you nail that, you can really worry about all the other aspects of painting, masking, getting your model right. And I've been using the Tamiya LP series now for about a year. And I've experimenting with using a little extra thinner, a little less thinner, and I think I have come up with a pretty good ratio that for the last couple of months I've been practicing with it, and it has worked every single time for me. And it's super simple. It's something that I think you'll be able to do one time, and that entire bottle is ready, thinned, ready to go. Just like we did with the big bottles of Tamiya's acrylic paint. So let me show you what I'm talking about right here. We've got a brand new bottle of Tamiya paint, and we're in this case going to be using, what is this here? Pure orange. And we use orange right here so that it'll be easy to see inside the bottle here. Now, the two thinners that I've been using exclusively, and they're actually the same thinner, just in different bottles, are Tamiya's big bottle right here of lacquer thinner with the yellow cap, and then they're also going to have this little bottle of lacquer thinner, which, based on everything I've done, it's the exact same stuff inside, but I always use the big bottle because I go through quite a bit of it. And the new thinner that'll be coming out is Tamiya's lacquer thinner with retarder in it. So what that'll do is that'll dramatically slow down the drying process of the lacquer paints, because they do dry very, very fast, and that'll help with the paint laying down really flat. Now, to be quite honest, I've been using even the glosses for a while now, and I've not had that problem at all. They lay down like glass. I mean, they go on so beautifully. Now, as for other just standard lacquer thinners like you'd get at a hardware store, I imagine they would still work just the way you would expect them to, but I have not tried them. I don't know if Tamiya's lacquer thinner is any different than that, but I'm assuming that those would probably work. But if you do try it yourself, obviously test it out before you actually put it on a model. So now let's take a look at this bottle right here, and I'm going to show you how I figured this out, that I think it works every time for me, and we'll show you how that goes. First, pop this cap off right here, and we're going to look inside the bottle, and you'll see the lip right here on the outside where the paint flares out from the bottle. Find that spot right there on the inside of that piece right there, and then taking our Tamiya lacquer thinner, taking it in there, putting it in there, I should say. I'm going to take a couple little squirts of this one, getting it just until it hits that lip. There we go. Fill this thing up a little bit more. And hopefully you can see it. It's just coming up to that lip now. Maybe just a touch more. Yeah, right there. And then after you have the thinner inside, you want to shake it tremendously. Make sure it's thoroughly mixed up. Either use a paint mixing wand or just shake the heck out of it. Good example of that is we're looking at mica red here. You see the bottom of the bottle, you see all of the metal flake, and I'm going to shake it up for about 30 seconds and I'll show you what it looks like. That's what it looks like after shaking it for 15 seconds. And that's what it looks like after shaking for 30 seconds. So that's why I recommend that, because this is a perfect example. You can see the metal flake, it shows you, whereas if you shake this one up, it's still going to look like orange. So definitely shake it really, really well. And now that we have the paint thinned, we can go ahead and start airbrushing. And I'm going to go over the two airbrushes that I'm going to use for the demonstration purposes today. First one is our Wada HPCS Eclipse. This is the brush you quite often see me use in all the videos. It's my normal go-to brush. It's got a good fine to medium level of application, so use it quite often. And I'm also going to use Tamiya's Black Sprayworks HG3. This brush has got a much finer tip and using for more detail work, but we'll also show you how the paint works on that. Two other quick things if you're going to be airbrushing with, something that I would definitely recommend are the quick disconnects. The quick disconnects are right here. You buy the hose that has the quick disconnect, and it's just a matter of popping that on, popping it off, and it makes cleaning a lot easier, because if you don't have that, you're spinning the brush like this to take it off. You end up spilling paint on it. And they sell those separately, so you can add them onto any of your airbrushes. I would also recommend getting an airbrush holder like this one right here. That way you slide your airbrush right into it. You don't worry about knocking it over. Many times in the past before I had that, you would put the brush down, kind of wedge it in between something, knock it over, paint goes everywhere. So to start off with, we are going to set our compressor at about 22 to 23 pounds, as you see right here. And I've taken some just sheet styrene right here, just cut them up into squares. We're going to use this to put some paint on and show you what it looks like. So let's put some paint on these. And now with the paint thin, the pressure set, we can now start putting paint on here. Now I have the airbrush probably about 6 to 8 inches away from the piece I'm painting. And you'll notice right off, we're not putting a very heavy coat on. We're kind of like putting a tack coat on first. I found with the gloss paints, it worked out a little bit easier that way. They kind of lay down flat, putting that first little base on and then building up multiple thin coats. And it's not ones that you have to stop and then put a second coat on after that dries. I mean, it's literally by the time you get to one side, you can start doubling up on it. So that is what we're going to do right here. Now, on this particular paint, as you saw a second ago, we're using mica red. Now, mica red is a really bright red with a little bit of metal flake inside there that really pops out well. And we're just going to keep going back and forth right here, building it up. It's laying down very smooth. And we'll just keep doing this for a few more seconds. And now we can open the airbrush a little bit more and put a little bit heavier coat on now that we have that base down. Right here, I decided to go ahead and put a little bit of masking tape on here so we can get a really clean, straight line on it. And here it is. Here is the red, actually mica red, I should say, all dry. And it went on there absolutely beautiful. It is such a smooth finish on here. Now remember, mica red is a metallic paint, so there is going to be a little bit of metal flake in there. Can kind of see it, hopefully, in the camera when I'm moving around with the light. But beautiful paint color, I think, on it. Also keep in mind, there is no clear coat on this yet, too. So there is a really good shine. Obviously not the deep shine that a car would have once you put a couple of coats of clear coat on top of it. But still, a glossy paint, a nice reflection from the metallic pigment inside. So very nice on it. One other thing I'm going to show you, too, is since I mixed up that bottle of orange paint, I've gone ahead and laid a little bit of that down as well. Now this does not have a metal flake inside of it. And a decent shine. Now when I did that one, I did use my Tamiya Sprayworks HG3 on this particular one. Went down pretty much the same. The only thing I did a little bit different, when I first started putting on the paint, it was very cold in my store. I hadn't had the heat on for very long, and the paint was kind of, it speckled just a little bit. So I went ahead and masked off another piece of it there, took the bottle of paint, just the way it is right here, and filled up a little pan of warm water. Warm enough that I could put my hand, that you could really feel it, but not so hot that you would burn your fingers or anything. So I left that bottle in there for about 5 or 6 minutes, heated up the bottle of paint, put it in, and then it went on absolutely glossy and shiny and beautiful, just like you see it right here. So warming up the paint did help when it was really cold in the store, because it was probably in the high 50s, we'll call it, in here. But as you can see, did a really, really beautiful job. Now, since we have some paint on these already, let's take some masking tape and mask these off, and we're going to leave some masking tape on it just to see if it does anything to this. Now, I already personally know it doesn't. I've masked a bunch of times with this particular paint and never had a problem with it, but I'm going to put some layers of Tamiya masking tape on and leave it on for at least 24 hours, and we'll come back and show you what it looks like. Now we're going to do a little bit of masking, and 2 different types of masking tape on here. The actual line is done, the little narrow tape is done with Tamiya's really light tack masking tape. And I just did a quick little line in the middle there. And then over here, this is just regular generic painter's mask. The yellow Tamiya has been on there since last night. This I just put on right now, and that is because I want to share with you guys a color that I absolutely love. It's the one I use the most out of it. It's called sparkling silver, and it is the most incredible looking shiny silver you've ever seen on it. And I thought what I'd do is I'll give an experiment. We're just going to shoot a line across the orange there, see how it covers, give you an idea how it'll cover over. Especially orange is a pretty dense color. Then we'll see how it looks, and then we'll pull all the masking tape off of that and see if even this strong stuff does anything to the Tamiya paint. It'll only probably be on there a grand total of maybe 10 minutes, but we'll see how it works. Look at that. That shine is just incredible on it there. Now, let's see. I guess it's got a slight little orange tone to it there, so it covered mostly on it. And normally you wouldn't be painting like that anyway, but I just want to do a little experiment. So let's carefully pull all of this off. So far, so good. Nice. So both the hardcore regular painter's mask and the Tamiya tape left on overnight didn't do anything to the paint finish. Now, if you're going to use that thick tape like this, I don't know if I would use that overnight. That stuff's pretty strong after a while, but man, that stuff, that sparkling silver is just incredible looking. Now, I know I'm looking at the camera at the same time, and I do see like an orange tint in the camera, but not in person, so it might be just some of the reflection off of here. In person, it is just bright and shiny. But highly, highly recommend sparkling silver. That is going to be the color that flies off the shelf when it is finally available in the United States. I actually wanted to show you guys that orange tone that was on the camera right there was from my actual lighting in here. So here is, see what I'm talking about? If I put it like that, how it's got a little bit of an orange tone, because it's reflecting some of the yellowish light coming off my my filming lights. But when we lay it flat, you can see that goes away. Because I went and did some experimenting just up alongside. Well, I didn't get the mask line perfect straight, but beautiful, beautiful paint. And finally, I want to talk to you guys about cleaning the airbrush. Now, obviously, lacquer thinner right out of the bottle will take care of it. And I will usually run a little lacquer thinner through there and run it into my cleaning pot. But I am going to recommend, too, that you get a little bit of Tamiya's airbrush cleaner or something really, really strong as a cleaner, because you're going to definitely need to get some cotton swabs, get up inside here, and then take all of this apart in here to make sure it is thoroughly clean, because it doesn't clean up as easy as the acrylic paints, because obviously you're going to need a stronger chemical to take these out. And if it gums up in there, you're going to be cleaning for a little bit of while. And I did that one time where I left some paint in there a little too long and I got busy, and it took a little bit more. But the airbrush cleaner takes it right out. You just have to, you know, strip your airbrush down and you'll be ready to go. And as you can see right here, I just spilt a whole bunch over the side, but you get the idea on it. Almost forgot. There is one other test we need to show you guys, and it's one for all of the military modelers. And that is using their flat paints, because they do make quite a few of the flats. And the one we're going to try out right here is LP30, Light Sand. Well, I've masked off a little bit of that silver area again, and I'm just going to show you how one of the military colors goes on. And there it is. That's drying for about maybe 3 or 4 minutes right now. And honestly, it's dry to the touch, at least for these military colors, really, really fast there. The other benefit of using the LP series is that it's lacquer paint. So with lacquer paint, it's a more durable surface because it's etched itself a little bit more into the plastic than like the acrylic would be. So with this, I don't clear coat before I put the decals on. I put the decals directly onto this particular paint, and then of course we lacquer clear coat over that to seal the decals in. But a really nice hard surface, and really holds up a lot better to weathering, using enamels, things like that on it. And if you would like to see a model, at least a military model, painted completely with the LP series, go back onto the channel and look for the Tamiya Martyr 1. Just came out just a couple months back, and that entire model was painted with the LP series.